Well, have you ever had a thought of somebody and you either get a call from them or a
Mhm.
text or you run into them or an email and you say, "Oh my gosh, I was just thinking of you this morning." And you think,
Yes.
"Oh, what a coincidence." Well, you're doing it when that happens. That's your intuitive ability at work. And that's how it works. Or you think something's going to happen and it does.
Hmm.
Or you think, oh, I don't need to go down this road because it's going to be closed. And
Yeah.
then, and you're thinking, oh, that's crazy. There are no signs. And you're going down the road and guess what? It's closed. That's all. We're all doing it. We just don't recognize it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's we're so wrapped up with our rational minds, and we've been all taught to kind of disbelieve in intuition, right? And to believe that things are only coincidence. So I will say that I have definitely seen a lot more synchronicities in my life in the last 5, 6, 7 years since I started really believing in it and looking for it. And I so it's things aren't random, and I think and I know people do have intuition. So but I said for to take it to the level that you've taken to, it's astounding.
Well, I talk to a lot of people between my show and my clients with whom I work every workday. I
Yeah.
probably scan 3,000 people a year.
Oh wow,
So
really?
the more you do it,
Yeah,
it's just second nature.
yeah.
And so the other thing is the more you communicate with spirit or you try to communicate with spirit, it's that first thing that comes in your head. Comes in like a thought in your head, as
Mm.
fast as you can snap your fingers, or before, because time doesn't exist in the spirit world. Time's a human creation, linear time as we know it.
Hmm.
So oftentimes you'll be thinking of something and you'll get a thought in your head that'll come in that'll feel like an answer to what you're thinking, but you haven't thought the thought all the way. And
Yeah.
you'll think, oh, that's just my imagination. No, it's because whoever the spirit is with whom you're communicating, they've already got what you're thinking before you can think it out all the way, and they're responding to you. So, spirit communicates with a thought in our heads, it comes in instantly. And that's how you know that something's going on. That's how you know that's an answer from spirit. If you think about it for a couple of seconds, that's your brain talking to you. I had a client this morning, just before I got on with you, who told me that she lost her sister recently and she was crying so hard on the way home from the hospital that she said I could barely see the road. And she said all of a sudden I got in my neighborhood and the speed limit's really slow. She said it was 25 miles an hour and they really enforce it. And she said all of a sudden there was a cardinal that showed up next to her driver's window, and the cardinal flew with her all the way into her driveway. And then when she turned off the car and was getting ready to get out of the door, it flew away. And she
Mm.
said, my first thought was that was my mom who's in heaven. That was my mom sending that cardinal to comfort me, to let me know that she was with me and that everything was going to be okay. And I said, you're right. That's exactly it. And she said, that was my first thought. And then I thought, oh, I'm just, out of my mind. I'm just imagining that. And I said, no, you weren't. Your first thought was correct.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point that we all need to keep in mind, especially as people we were talking before we started recording. I'm an engineer. I'm very, kind of rational person, I like to believe anyway. And we'll talk ourselves out of signs. And I find myself like I always try to figure out what are the odds of this happening? How rare is this, or is this just a normal thing? So yeah, I tell people the same thing you're saying. Go with your first thought. If you think it's a sign, then it's a sign.
Right.